My name is Ethan, 28, and, until very recently, the kind of guy who believed family was an ironclad insurance policy against the worst kinds of betrayal. I grew up in suburban North Carolina, the quieter edges of Charlotte, where yards still have white mailboxes and neighbors wave even when they're late for work. I have an identical twin, Aaron, who shared my face, my laugh, and every major childhood milestone. First bike crash, first playoff touchdown, even the honor roll certificates our mom taped to the fridge until the paper yellowed at the corners. We were a match set, in every family photo. The easy shorthand my parents used when they explained how lucky they were. 2 healthy boys, for the price of 1 pregnancy. College scattered us briefly. I studied computer engineering at NC State. Aaron majored in sports management at UNC Charlotte and parlayed his charm into an assistant coaching gig at a local high school. But holidays still pulled us back to the same table, same jokes, same effortless way we finished each other's sentences. If there was an American poster family for fraternal loyalty, the Colemans were it. Jessica came into the picture my sophomore spring. She'd switched majors into marketing, needed help with a Java assignment, and our mutual friend thought, Ethan's the patient twin. By the time we compiled her code, we demolished a sleeve of Oreos, high-fived over a silent compiling bar, and scheduled a breakfast for dinner date that same night. Jessica was pure North Carolina sunshine, warm drawl, Carolina Hurricanes jersey in her closet, and the kind of optimism that makes you think things will always work out, because how could they not when someone like her exists? The relationship accelerated in the dumb, happy way of Hallmark movies. Graduation photos where she's stealing my grad cap, an apartment we painted together, her teal accent wall, my minimalism losing in a landslide, the Sunday ritual of grocery store sushi because cooking felt illegal after 6 p.m. Aaron approved instantly, maybe too instantly, but at the time I saw only enthusiasm. Bro, you outkicked your coverage. He teased at our engagement barbecue while balancing 3 burger patties on the grill's hot spot. He hugged her like a sister and fist-bumped me when I wasn't looking. We married 3 years ago under a canopy of mason jar lanterns and crepe myrtle blossoms, the kind of backyard wedding Pinterest swears you can do for under $7,000 if you cajole enough friends into free labor. Aaron was my best man, delivering a speech equal parts roast and tearjerker. When Ethan told me he found the girl who made him forget to back up his hard drive, I knew it was love. The pictures showed Jessica wiping mascara streaks, Aaron's hand on my shoulder, and me grinning so hard my cheeks bruised the next morning. If you'd asked me last Thanksgiving to list things I was grateful for, I'd have rattled them off with zero hesitation. A wife whose sleepy smile was basically NyQuil in human form, a twin who never missed our Tuesday night basketball run, and a tech startup job that let me code in sweats 3 days a week. I was a cliché of millennial contentment. So, how do you get from that to scrolling through Ring camera footage at 2 a.m., trying to pinpoint the frame where your own brother walks into your house while you're out of town? You start with the small, ignorable anomalies. The unfamiliar car key on the entry table hook, same brand as Aaron's SUV, but they must all look alike, Jess said, plucking it off and sliding it into the junk drawer. The uptick in laundry, a second load of mixed darks that wasn't there last month. I'm just reorganizing the closet, she shrugged, and I kissed her hairline instead of counting shirts. Then my boss sent me to Austin for a 4-day DevOps summit. The trip was uneventful: hotel coffee, keynote speeches, souvenir bats from the minor league team store. But the second night, Jessica's FaceTime call cut twice. Bad Wi-Fi, she said, switching to audio only. Around the same time, Aaron's Snapchat streak with me, a dumb holdover from college, broke for the first time in 1,143 days. 2 negligible glitches. I logged them mentally and kept networking over overpriced brisket sliders. Flying home Friday, I texted the family group chat, landed. Who's up for Mom's pot roast Sunday? Mom heart reacted. Aaron didn't answer. At baggage claim, Jessica's reply popped up, can't wait to hug you. Hurry home. Standard sweetness. The drive from CLT Airport to our place is 20 minutes. I listened to a Cardinals-Cubs recap, thought about asking Jess whether she'd finally scheduled that eye doctor appointment, and turned into our cul-de-sac. The porch light was off. Odd, because she leaves it on when I travel. The living room lamp glowed through the curtains, so I relaxed. Maybe she dozed on the couch. I unlocked the door, rolled my suitcase across the entry tile, and announced the world's lamest version of, "Honey, I'm home." Silence. Not the kind cushioned by a TV murmuring in another room. Real, vacuumed silence. I walked to the kitchen, noted 2 wine glasses in the sink. One lipstick kissed, one not. The dishwasher was running. The cycle timer read 53 minutes left. Jessica doesn't start it overnight because the hum keeps her awake. My pulse did that odd double thump. Jess? The bedroom door was half shut. I heard fabric rustle, 2 distinct weights shifting on mattress springs. A woman's gasp, male whisper. I froze mid-hallway like my OS had crashed. A primitive part of me considered sprinting back to the car, hard reboot, pretend glitch, before I forced myself forward. I pushed open the door. The world jerked sideways. No, correction. I jerked sideways when Aaron jerked upright, bare-chested, sheets bunched at his waist, Jess's fingernail indents scoring his shoulder blades. She yanked the comforter to her chin, pupils embolizing into dinner plates. Aaron's eyes were my eyes in a funhouse mirror, bewildered and pleading for the undo option. For 3 solid seconds, none of us spoke. Air rumbled through the vent, someone's phone buzzed an alarm on the nightstand, and my own heartbeat drowned everything. The first coherent thought that crossed my mind was absurd. How many times had I fought childhood colds sleeping in the same bunk bed as that face? The second thought was harder. There goes the insurance policy. Jessica croaked my name, voice the texture of torn denim. Aaron swung his legs off the bed as if steady ground could fix this. Ethan, I swear. He searched the floor for clothes that looked exactly like mine. It just happened. Somewhere outside, a neighbor's Labrador barked. I registered it like a timestamp, proof that life was still operating on schedule for everyone else. My phone chimed, an Uber Eats promo offering 2-for-1 wings if I ordered within the hour. I laughed, a single animal bark, and both of them recoiled like laughter was scarier than yelling. When the voice returned to my throat, it came out eerily polite. Get out. Aaron flinched, grabbed his jeans and left, barefoot, wallet forgotten. Jessica knelt on the mattress, wrap top clutched across her chest, repeating my name so softly, it might have been a prayer if prayers tasted like iron. I was still at the doorway. My body refused to cross its own bedroom threshold, act like crossing would make me complicit. She tried explanations that tumbled over one another. Loneliness while I traveled, late-night talks with Aaron after family dinners, the subtle, horrifying fact that I, her husband, looked identical to the person she'd slept with. It felt like you, she whispered, tears streaking foundation. And that confused me in ways I hate. I walked backward down the hall, a film running in reverse, suitcase still by the front door. I didn't slam the door, I clicked it shut, because anger felt brittle, and I was terrified it would shatter me. The porch light I'd noticed was off, winked on suddenly, triggered by motion. I stood under it long enough for the sensor to time out and plunge me into darkness again. Then I drove. No destination, just asphalt and an inbox of missed calls multiplying like bacteria. Jess X5, Aaron X3, Mom, then Dad, then Jess again. Somewhere near Lake Norman I pulled into a 24-hour CVS, bought a travel-sized toothbrush, and checked into a roadside Holiday Inn. The lobby's vending machine whirred as I brushed my teeth in a lobby bathroom because my brain refused to use the complimentary kit in a room labeled King Suite. A joke too on the nose. By 4 a.m. I'd turned off my phone, thrown it onto the carpet, and stared at the ceiling long enough to catalog each stippled bump. I wanted to rewind to any earlier frame, the car key, the laundry load, the FaceTime glitch, places where alternate timelines branched if you just noticed soon enough. But the film was spooled out, jammed, irreparable. Sunrise smeared traffic noise against the windows. I showered, convinced hot water could sanitize memory, and whispered the first plan I trusted: lawyer, apartment, distance. I powered the phone. 57 unread messages. I answered none, but opened the Ring app compulsively and rewound time-stamped stills. 2 nights earlier, 0:32, Aaron's SUV rolled into the driveway, headlights off. The porch camera showed Jess opening the door in pajama shorts, tugging him inside. They kissed once, quick and guilty, before vanishing down the hall. The same hall I'd walk 14 hours later holding a suitcase brimming with conference swag. I screenshot the frame where their silhouettes blurred into each other, unsure whether proof mattered when betrayal stood 10 feet tall in real life. Work email pinged. My boss wanted slide decks. I called in a personal emergency, voice freshly sandblasted, and spent the day Googling North Carolina separation filing, while CNN rolled footage of political rallies I couldn't parse. Afternoon blurred into evening. I realized I hadn't eaten since airplane pretzels and fed myself vending machine Pop-Tarts because the idea of a sit-down meal felt obscene, like savoring anything while my life gamed over. When the sun fell again, so did the adrenaline. Grief crept in like lake fog, thick and damp. It clung to my hoodie, to the cheap hotel linens, to the empty twin bed across the room that should have held my brother back when we were 6, and terrified of thunderstorms. I cried the way men aren't supposed to. No sobbing soundtrack, just a silent, unstoppable leak of salt that refused to quit. Somewhere around midnight, the crying turned to a strange mental autopsy. Dissecting memories for clues, examining handshake moments when I'd placed Jessica's feelings above my own sleep schedule, when I'd loaned Aaron money for a gym membership because it's leg day, man. That's when the first seed of anger sprouted. Not fiery vengeance, anger that felt surgical, a scalpel carving boundaries. I opened a blank Google Doc and typed a single header, rules for day 2. Beneath it, bullet points materialized, unemotional and terrifying in their clarity. Call divorce attorney. Tell parents before rumor mill reaches them. Move savings to personal account. Therapy appointment. Solo. No contact with Jess or Aaron until therapist clears mental airspace. The list stared back like a user agreement. Click I accept to continue living. I closed the laptop. Slept 4 hours. Woke to the 6 a.m. jolt of highway trucks outside the motel and realized I'd survived exactly one full circumference of the clock without imploding. Not victory, proof of concept. The world would keep spinning even if my axis was off kilter. I checked out, tossed the room key into a box labeled Express Drop, and turned on my phone. No new messages, the flood had finally ebbed. That calm felt sinister, like the eye of a hurricane. I turned left toward Charlotte, away from our bungalow, and drove to my parents' place instead. On the way, I rehearsed sentences. None sounded less than nuclear. Jessica and Aaron cheated. Your daughter-in-law and your son slept together. The words disintegrated as soon as I said them aloud. Guilt and shame fusing in my throat. Mom answered the door still in her robe, hair clipped up. Dad sat at the kitchen island, nursing black coffee. They knew something was wrong before I opened my mouth. Twins carry news in their eyes. I delivered the headline in 12 words and waited. Shock rearranged my parents' faces, the same faces that once refereed twin squabbles over Matchbox cars. Mom's coffee cup hit the coaster too hard and cracked the rim. Dad closed his eyes like someone had stapled them shut. They asked gentle questions. When, how, proof. Questions designed to understand, not accuse. I showed the rings screenshot. Mom gasped. Dad reached for a legal pad, scribbling names of family lawyers like we were preparing for battle. Then I heard tires on gravel outside. The doorbell rang. Through the sidelight window, I saw Aaron's outline, shoulders slumped, hoodie raised like a white flag. Mom exhaled a name that sounded like a lament. I shook my head once. Dad steadied me with a hand on my elbow. We didn't open the door. Aaron called through the jam, voice muffled. Ethan, please, 5 minutes. I took Mom's cracked mug, poured the coffee down the sink and turned on the faucet so the roar of water erased whatever he said next. That's how day 2 ended. My brother, outside our childhood home, me inside corralling paperwork and grief, and my parents barricading the porch with silence. I slept in my old bedroom, dust motes floating in moonlight, under a poster of the 2004 Panthers that still had Jake Delhomme's autograph peeling at the corner. The irony that the signed photo originally belonged to Aaron didn't escape me. I turned it face down before closing my eyes. No point letting ghosts watch me fail to sleep. At 7 a.m., my phone lit up with a voicemail transcript from Jessica, her first recorded attempt instead of text storms. Ethan, if you hear me out, I can explain the gut behind the mistake. Gut, not guilt. I deleted the message. Another from Aaron. I can't breathe knowing I hurt you. Tell me what to do. I blocked his number, heart hammering like I'd physically struck him. The attorney's office opened at 9:30. Dad drove me downtown because my hands wouldn't quit shaking. Mom texted Jessica once. Give Ethan space. We'll reach out when he's ready. No reply. In the waiting room, a woman thumbed through a battered copy of People magazine. The cover featured a celebrity couple renewing vows. Plastic smile victory lap, I suddenly viewed as daredevil stunt work. Our lawyer, Miss Ramirez, greeted us with the neutral tone of someone who's seen love's survivors crawl through her door daily. She listened, took notes, asked if children were involved. No. Joint asset breakdown, house, 2 cars, shared checking, prenup, no, and whether fault mattered for spousal support under NC law. Yes, adultery can. She didn't flinch when I said the affair partner was my twin. She asked if I needed a restraining order. I said no. She nodded, slid a tissue box across the desk anyway. I didn't cry. Dad did, quietly, when she stepped out to photocopy documents. Back at the house, I found Aaron's high school Letterman jacket in my old closet, one last left-behind relic. I bagged it with trembling care, taped the mouth shut, and labeled it, "Pick up after 30 days. Contact Mom." It felt like sealing evidence more than memorabilia. I hid the bag in the attic corner behind Christmas wreaths, symbolic purgatory, until I could stomach seeing him again. That afternoon, I attended my first therapy session via Zoom. Dr. Patel wore earbuds and the calm expression of a flight attendant explaining turbulence. I talked for 55 minutes. He compared trauma to a shattered windshield, everything visible yet dangerously sharp, requiring conditions before repair. He assigned homework, journal 3 feelings hourly, no judgment. At 5 p.m. my log read, hollow, angry, relieved. Surprising. Relief had snuck into the triad uninvited. Night came without incident until Aaron texted Mom's phone from a throwaway number. A photo of us at age 8, arms slung over each other's shoulders, captioned, "Tell him I still love him." Mom set the phone face down and whispered, "He broke family first." I didn't correct her grammar. I drove back to Charlotte the next morning. Keys to a corporate apartment Ramirez's paralegal found me. Month-to-month lease, furniture that looked rented by the hour, but mine. I hauled in 2 duffel bags, laptop and the Ring camera hub I'd ripped off the bungalow's wall before Jess could reset the password. I wasn't sure why I kept it. Maybe proof that cameras cut both ways. The divorce filing went out certified mail on a Thursday. That evening, Jess emailed a single-sentence acknowledgement. Received the petition. Working on preliminary response. Cold, legalistic, as if we'd never slow danced barefoot in the kitchen at 1 a.m. to Ed Sheeran. I cried again, stupidly, over the memory of her humming the chorus off-key. Anger tried to pitch a tent in my throat, but grief still owned the lease. Friday I returned to work on a reduced schedule. Coworkers asked generic, "How was Austin?" questions. I answered, "Productive," because truth would detonate the office. When lunch hour came, I sat in my car scrolling Reddit relationship forums, Arsh surviving infidelity, Arsh marriage, Arsh relationship advice, searching for stories that matched the genetic overlap of my particular betrayal. Few did. Apparently the identical twin niche is small, but the common denominator, trust's implosion, felt like home, if a haunted one. That night, alone in the apartment, I rewatched video snippets of our wedding. Aaron's toast, Jess laughing, me oblivious. I forced myself to watch until the end, freezing the final frame on the projector's fade-out. Then I deleted the file. Not out of spite, because keeping it felt like preserving biohazard. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text. "Ethan, I signed up for therapy. I'll wait as long as it takes." No signature, but I knew the syntax. Aaron. I blocked the number. Then emailed Dr. Patel. "Can we increase sessions to twice a week?" He replied within the hour. "Yes, proud of your proactive steps." I fell asleep that night listening to the dull hum of the fridge in my temporary kitchen. No wedding video, no ring feed, no twins snoring in a top bunk across the room. Just the monotone thrum of a cheap appliance doing its singular, reliable job, keep things from spoiling. I woke the next morning to the alarm on my work phone, the one I'd set months ago to buzz with the gentle chime Jessica said was least murdery. The irony almost pulled a laugh out of me. I silenced it, lay still, and let the cheap ceiling fan tick time forward until the smell of someone else's burnt toast wandered in from the hallway. Corporate apartments are like low-budget TV sets. You recognize the furniture from a dozen other episodes, you just don't remember which ones. At 9:30, Dr. Patel logged onto Zoom, and I told him the fridge had kept me functional. He nodded, said rituals anchor the nervous system, then asked if I'd written down feelings overnight. Under the glow of the laptop, I flipped to a new page in the marble notebook Mom bought me back in 8th grade when I still thought journaling was detention with extra steps. The entry read, 4 a.m., numb, 6 a.m., tired, 8 a.m., wary. Wary struck me as both accurate and inadequate. It felt like labeling a tsunami big wave. Work slid in next, a flat plane of responsibilities that kept me from drowning. My manager, Rochelle, reassigned the most client-facing bug tickets so I could tunnel into back-end refactoring, quiet labor, headphones as barricade. At lunch, she wandered past my cubicle and left a Chick-fil-A milkshake without comment. That small mercy almost tripped the tears again, so I typed an emoji thank you and went back to renaming obsolete API endpoints, pretending each commit replaced a memory. That evening, the corporate leasing office slipped an envelope under my door. A welcome packet with Wi-Fi details, trashed shoot hours, and a coupon for half-price appetizers at a sports bar downstairs. It felt like the universe was offering me one uninspired replacement after another. Temporary walls, tempura shrimp, temporary life. Still, half price is half price. I shoved the coupon in my pocket and took the elevator down. The bar was the sort that tries too hard. Vintage license plates nailed to faux brick, Edison bulbs that flicker for ambiance but mostly conceal the menu's spelling errors. I slid onto a stool, ordered boneless wings, and watched the Celtics tip off against the Warriors on the array of flat screens. 5 minutes later, someone tapped my shoulder. I half expected Aaron's face to manifest behind me because muscle memory still assumed proximity, but it was Owen from accounting, striped tie loosened to frat party laxness. "Dude, you vanished after Austin," he said, lifting his lager. "Everything good?" I opened my mouth, closed it, and finally settled on, "Everything's in progress." Owen accepted that like it was a punchline to a joke only I understood. Then he pointed at the QR code taped to the bar. "Trivia night, our team's one short." I nearly declined. Strangers, small talk, the threat of personal questions, but some reckless part of me wanted new nouns and verbs unrelated to betrayal. So I joined their table. The team, naming themselves 404 Brain Not Found, consisted of Owen, a marketing intern named Kiara, and a UI designer called Sam who wore noise-canceling headphones around his neck, even in the din. We lost spectacularly. Came in 7th out of 9. But for 2 hours my mind made room for facts about state birds and 1980s movie quotes. Loss felt like a luxury. Back upstairs, I realized the wings coupon was still in my pocket, unused, because Owen had insisted on covering the bill. I pinned it to the fridge with one of those free magnet calendars funeral homes give out. 12 tiny months stared back, and I circled March with a Sharpie. The month the dissolution hearing was set. 91 days away. A trimester during which a person could gestate an entirely new outlook or stay stuck in the first trimester of grief. I intended to try for the former. The next week turned incremental. I transferred my direct deposit to a solo checking account, forwarded mail through USPS, and let Ms. Ramirez draft a preliminary property division agreement. She kept warning me Jessica might contest, especially since marital misconduct could influence alimony, but I signed where indicated. I wanted closure more than leverage. Jessica, through her own counsel, requested the house and equitable division of retirement funds. The list read like a grocery receipt of our future ghosts. Co-owned patio furniture, set of monogrammed towels, 2-person kayak. I initialed each line. On a Wednesday night, a month post-discovery, Dad texted, "Baseball card show in Raleigh Saturday. Wanna go?" He framed it like an invitation, but I read the subtext. A father trying to stuff paternal glue into a fissure no epoxy could hold. I drove up, let him buy me a stadium vendor hot dog, and spent 3 hours browsing plastic-sleeved rookie cards. At one booth, Dad hesitated over an autographed Ken Griffey Jr. I told him to go for it. He'd always wanted that card. He smiled but set it down. "Saving for bigger priorities," he said. I think he meant emotional ones. Saturday night, after I'd driven back, I found Aaron's letter outside my apartment door. No envelope, just a folded sheet, spritzed by drizzle. He'd switched to handwriting. "Twin," it began, as if the shared noun gave him audience rights. He wrote about therapy, self-loathing, waking from nightmares where he looks in a mirror and can't tell if he's me or him. "I need to fix this," he said. even if fixing means never seeing you again. I returned the letter to his Charlotte P.O. box in another envelope, blank except for my own sentence. Give the fixing to time, it's the only mechanic with the right parts. By mid-January, the joint tax documents arrived. W-2s, mortgage interest forms, all the bureaucratic twine that still knotted Jess and me. I forwarded digital copies to Miss Ramirez. She counter-forwarded a mediation proposal. Reading legal emails on a Saturday afternoon felt like watching someone dismantle my former life with sterile precision, but I clicked accept on the DocuSign and booked the Zoom slot. The morning of mediation, Jessica logged in from her lawyer's office. She wore the pale blue blazer I'd bought her for her first big pitch deck presentation, though I doubted she remembered. We avoided direct eye contact, kept our gazes on the thumbnails of counsel. Negotiations took 3 hours. She wanted the house. I ceded it. I wanted the dog, except we didn't have one. Compromise became the art of relinquishing. At the end, the mediator congratulated us on civility, unaware that silence can masquerade as maturity. Afterward, Jessica asked for 2 private minutes. Our attorneys left the call. Her face pixelated mildly, but the eyes were clear. I know it changes nothing, she said, but I'm pregnant. I don't know if it's yours or... I felt the earth yaw beneath my chair. Not violent like an earthquake, just a slow continental drift. The timeline math said conception could have landed either inside or outside the marriage's coffin. My mouth tasted metal. Have you done a paternity test? I asked. Blood draws scheduled next week, she whispered. I'll keep you informed. If it's yours. If it's mine, I interrupted, I'll step up financially and legally. Anything more depends on results you can't test in a lab. Her nod looked like surrender. We logged off without goodbye. I stared at the blank desktop, listening to the tin can echo of my own breathing in the sudden hush. For the first time since discovery, some primal reflex to protect flickered again. But it wasn't aimed at Jess or Aaron or even myself. It targeted a maybe child, Schrodinger's kid, statistically half mine. My emotional architecture rescaffolded around contingency plans, college funds, visitation schedules, genetic counseling. Rage had no room in that blueprint. The test results came via certified envelope 2 weeks later. 0.12 probability Ethan Coleman. 98+% pointed to the other Coleman. Miss Ramirez forwarded an addendum regarding my non-paternity status and suggested I sign a disclaimer of interest. I did. Mechanical strokes of pen across lines marked X. Relief and sorrow ran parallel like interstate lanes. Both got me somewhere unfamiliar, equally fast. Mom revised family gatherings into double-booked shifts, Christmas in 2 segments, birthdays with alternating guest lists. In February, she hosted her first bifurcated dinner. I took the early slot, left with foil-wrapped leftovers, and passed Aaron's car idling at the curb. We didn't make eye contact. Later that night, he texted, "He looks like you." I muted the number and turned my phone face down. March arrived, and with it the court date. The judge rubber-stamped the agreement in 13 minutes flat. Jess attended virtually, expression composed but eyes glass-fragile when they scanned the small window that contained me. When the feed disconnected, the clerk said, "You're all set," like I'd just renewed license plates. Outside, spring humidity wrapped Charlotte in the smell of tulip magnolias. Freedom mimicked grief so closely I could taste neither. That evening I returned to the sports bar, coupon finally retrieved. Trivia night again. Owen cheered when I slid into the booth. Kiara greeted me with a fist bump. During round 2, themed twin things, the host asked which state boasts the highest rate of twin births per capita. I knew the answer, Massachusetts. My hand froze over the answer sheet, and for 5 long seconds the entire bar receded to a heartbeat. Sam eventually scribbled Minnesota, and we lost the point. After the round, he apologized, but I told him it was perfect. Weeks slipped into functional routine. Therapy Mondays and Thursdays. Basketball Tuesday nights, though I had to find a new rec league because the old one still had Aaron on the roster. Coding sprints. Occasional weekend hikes to Crowder's Mountain where I'd watch clouds scud across the Carolina sky and practice letting thoughts drift just as freely. One Sunday near dusk, I got a text from an unknown number that turned out to be Jessica's sister, Leah. The baby was born at 3 p.m. Healthy boy. She thought you'd want to know even though. The sentence fractured but sufficed. I closed messaging, opened Spotify, and queued the longest instrumental playlist I could find, because songs with lyrics had sneaky tripwires. I spent the evening assembling an IKEA bookcase, its Allen wrench choreography, giving my hands something other than memory to hold. 3 mornings later, a certified letter arrived. Jessica relinquishing any claim to my 401k in exchange for my signature on a statement acknowledging no further parenting obligations. The page bore a notary stamp already. I signed. Post-divorce admin felt like deleting system files long after you've switched operating systems. April drew its curtains. The weather warmed enough that my temporary lease's pool opened, and Saturday afternoons filled with families. Parachute-style pool toys, Bluetooth speakers leaking top 40 hits. I laid out on a lounger in cargo shorts, reading Thinking Fast and Slow, wondering if Daniel Kahneman ever studied the cognitive load of marital implosion. On page 247 my phone buzzed. Bro, game at 5. You in? Owen. I typed sure before anxiety could veto. The game unfolded inside an elementary school gym that smelled exactly like my childhood's dodgeball wars, acrylic wax and faint chalk dust. During a timeout, the referee walked over, thumbed toward the bleachers and said, "That guy says he's your brother. Wants 2 minutes." My pulse spiked, but curiosity outranked caution. I jogged over. Aaron sat alone, dressed in jeans and a Hornets cap. His eyes tracked the scuffed hardwood until they reached mine. "I'm leaving Charlotte," he blurted. "Head coaching job in Boise. Plane departs Tuesday. I figured maybe." "Congratulations," I said. The word tasted like cardboard. I wasn't sure if it was forgiveness flavored. He swallowed, closed his eyes briefly. I named him Miles, after Grandpa. He offered a hesitant half-smile like the memory might butter the friction. "I'll send Mom pictures, unless you want them directly?" I shook my head, adjusted the sweatband on my wrist. "Maybe someday." "Not now." He nodded, stood. For a heartbeat he hovered, the hug impulse visible in the slope of his shoulders. We both stepped back instead, as if magnets reversed polarity. He whispered, "I'm sorry," a final time, then walked out the double doors into late afternoon sunlight. I finished the game. We lost by 4, but I hit 2 threes in the last minute. Owen high-fived me so hard my palms stung. In the locker room I realized my body felt lighter, like someone had removed a percentage of gravity. I showered, let hot water erase salt, and hummed a tune. Later I recognized it as the corny hotel lobby song that played the night of discovery. I laughed at the poetic recycling. May ushered in an HR email. Remote relocation program reopened. Austin, Seattle, Denver slots available. Austin triggered flashbacks of the summit, but a fresh Austin, untainted by marriage, might feel different. I applied. 2 weeks later, the approval landed. Moving stipend, condo search assistance, start date July 1st. The same day, my therapist suggested it was time to reduce sessions to once a week. "You're stitching," he said, "not bleeding." Packing went quicker than I'd expected. The corporate place never accumulated many personal artifacts. By mid-June, every possession fit into 14 cardboard boxes labeled with Sharpie hieroglyphics only I could decipher. On the last Charlotte weekend, I drove to the bungalow once more to collect final mail forwarded in error. The house looked identical. White siding, teal door, Jessica insisted on, hydrangeas just budding. I stood on the sidewalk, engine idling, until lights flickered on inside. A silhouette passed the living room window holding what was unmistakably a baby. I pulled away without honking, accepting that ghosts sometimes live in real houses. Moving day dawned bright, sky the exact shade of the vintage Charlotte Knights cap I'd worn since college. At the airport gate I texted Mom, "Boarding. Love you." She replied with a plain emoji and a heart. Dad added, "Go make new innings." The metaphor was off, but intention on target. I opened a fresh notes app file titled Austin To Do and typed Item 1, buy fridge magnets that are actually mine. On the plane, a flight attendant offered ginger ale. I declined, asked for water. Hydration over nostalgia. Jessica used to tease me for hoarding the mini cans. As the jet taxied, I glanced out the window at Charlotte's skyline shrinking into geometry, thought about identical twins and divergent paths. DNA copies, decisions original. The moment the wheels left the runway was the exact second I decided betrayal might tattoo skin, but not destiny. At cruising altitude, I opened the Kindle app, queued a blank document, and wrote the first line of a letter I'd never send. "Dear future Ethan, remember the hum of the fridge." Then I closed it, reclined, and let the roar of engines drown the past, pushing me toward a sky wide enough to house forgiveness. Even if forgiveness was a house I'd build room by room, starting with myself.